Hey, so we've got Sean Daly, CEO and founder of Social Media Ninjas, here with us today to talk about Facebook ads and social media strategy, and how businesses and early stage entrepreneurs should be thinking about this as they grow their business. Sean, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Right on. So tell us a little bit about you. You've got a very interesting back end story as to how you landed at where you're at.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a snowflake in this industry. That's a
Hmm.
great description. I'm a
Right?
no, not that kind of snowflake. Yeah, I'm unique in the sense that I have a technology and a content marketing background or a author background. So I started as this interested sort of tech guy back. This is going back 30, 35 years ago. I was just a technology enthusiast, became a Windows expert, had a local business here in Sonoma County where we both are living,
Hmm.
and just got really good at IT networks, all things computers, just loved it and did that for a long time. And then kind of parlayed that over into an authorship. I started getting asked to write books for a software that was pretty new at the time and they didn't have a lot of authors. And so I was able to kind of get in, and it was a Windows NT, which has evolved into Microsoft's enterprise platform for servers and has been. But I've been out of that for some time. But what happened was, I, as an author, got really into creating great content because that was what was my job was, and I was writing for a magazine, and that whole thing evolved into really going beyond technology and understanding what brings in qualified leads to organizations,
Hmm.
and because that's really what when I was writing books, I realized that these companies that were out there in the software space, for example, they were looking for qualified people to basically, get like a qualified sales lead, for example. So what I decided to do was I was getting screwed as an author, getting paid pennies really to write books that were very well. They were making the publishers lots of money, but they weren't making me money. And a lot of my buddies are in the same boat. So I basically said, hey, to these guys when they would pitch me as a journalist, I said, what do you think about you hiring us to write a book, and in doing so we will basically charge you, for example, $50,000. We just made up numbers, and then we'll write this book for you, and you get it as an exclusive marketing thing that you can use.
Yep.
And the first company we worked with said yes to it, and it was about double what I got paid, and it was about a third of the amount of content that I usually would write. So I was like, "Oh, this is pretty good," and that just evolved from there. I ended up starting a company around that. I totally left behind consulting, IT, all that kind of stuff, and started doing this full time. And and really, it was content marketing programs, and it was creating great content that was going to be sponsored by but not infected by large software companies. So my customers, just so you know, were at first they were small software companies, and then that evolved into Microsoft and Dell
Yep.
and Computer Associates because they thought this was a hot, really cool thing. But the point of the story really was I learned how to develop and have my friends who came in as authors develop great content that served the marketing purposes for these companies to line up content and audience and, of course, on the vendors and products, right? Because
Yep.
it always came down to they want to sell something to this audience. And we were making millions of dollars doing this, and it was awesome. And it made $1 million in the first year, just about. It was like just under $1 million
Yeah.
first year. And so that was a really cool ride. And I did that for about 6 years, and I just got kind of exhausted with that. It became a more mature entity, and I was past the entrepreneurial startup phase that really was the most interesting to me at that time. So
Yep.
I passed that on to a guy in San Francisco. He took it on from there, and then I really rebooted myself as a marketing person,
Hmm.
using that technology background, using that content expert background and content marketing background, as well as some other things like podcasting and videos and other things that I had done, new media stuff, they were calling it at the time, to trying to create a holistic sort of marketing campaign that worked for any business, including local businesses, which also, by the way, at that time, now I'm talking about 2010, around there,
Yep.
was the hot thing. It was all about, hey, marketing at the local level, right? And
Hmm.
that's not, it's also just small businesses. Let's not even just say, I mean, if you're selling widgets across the internet, you're not a local business, but you're a small business.
Yep.
And none of these guys, they all have David not Goliath budgets.
Yeah.
And
Right.
that's always been near and dear to my heart. Being a Sonoma County entrepreneur, it's the small towns, and I've worked with small businesses both in my IT career as well as in my marketing career. And I love that. And I get to
Yep.
also work with, highfalutin companies and individuals and so forth. And that's great. I have a Hollywood actress and model as a client and some other famous people, but I really, really love working with small business people. So it was about how do we bring all that power and all that knowledge and distill it down into something that the average business can use. And that has been, this industry moves faster than medicine, than pharmaceuticals, than space. I mean, it moves faster than everything. It sounds crazy, but it moves quickly. Things are just, the half-life is like months on. And I mean, not just software and things, but things like even sometimes marketing concepts, expire in years or months even sometimes. So platforms and things. So what I did at that point was really focus on small businesses and how to take all this craziness that they barely even knew existed. I mean, they hardly knew because, a lot of these business owners are not always, it's not always like a 25-year-old who's Snapchatting all day long. Sure. It's somebody who's maybe 35 to 65 years old or even older. And they're trying to run a successful business. And they're trying to take this stuff that's really gobbledygook and turn it into something that creates an ROI for the business. And I knew that was going to be an ongoing challenge. So that was sort of where I jumped in with local businesses. Yeah. And that's evolved. And I love it. I mean, I get to work with these, these great businesses. But so what's evolved over the years has been, the thing years ago was SEO. You got to rank on Google. Now, I'm not saying that's passe now, but it's a lot different than it used to be. It used to be you could kind of like get ranked on Google in 2 weeks, and it was if you knew what to do. Now it's totally different. I mean, you got to be really careful. It takes a long time. Google, everybody wants to. It's pay to play, whether it's Facebook or Google. They want you to pay to get exposure on their network. They make nothing from giving things away, so they're very aggressive about filtering people out. And so, it's evolved. And now these days we're looking at still SEO and getting ranked on Google, but there's other things like Facebook advertising, which we do a lot of. We also, of course, have had Google advertising where you're paying to play on Google to get into the search engines, not through the meritocracy of, you're a really good SEO guy, got you ranked, but you're appearing in the ads. Because the ads used to be this adjunct on the side, or this little blue column of right. Like an afterthought. Now it's just peppering the entire first page. Like you have to scroll down an entire page often to see organic listings on Google. So they've shoved it down our throats, really.
And so what's kind of your elevator pitch for what you do now and who you serve?
Yeah. So my elevator pitch is we work with every business in a totally custom fashion because everybody's got a story. So we're doing completely customized marketing. It's not cookie cutter, even if sometimes it's the same stuff. What we're offering is personalized, customized marketing for a business. And what that means in, practical reality is sitting with that business owner and really listening to their business, listening to their challenges, understanding what their brand is, their brand positioning in the market, being honest with them about where they have gaps and where they're strong, and getting them to hopefully be honest in recognition of that. That really, it has to start there. If it doesn't, we have problems. And so offering that objective perspective, and then going from there to try to find, I always go for the one quick win, because small businesses tend to be budget constrained.
Totally.
They can't do everything they should do. Because if we talked about everything you should do, man, you're talking about probably a lot of money, but you also shouldn't do that until you know that you've got the right marketing partner, that you've got the right product and offer and price point, and you've targeted the right market. I've talked to businesses sometimes that really understand their business and they're ready to go. They just need to get out there. They got the system down. And I've talked to businesses, they have no idea. They think they know what they're doing. They don't. They're like not competitive in the market, and they've been in denial, or nobody's been honest with them about it, and everything in between, Jay. I mean, it's just all over the place. So we try to make sure that we've got a strong battle plan, and then move forward with that. And then I go for one quick win. It's like where can we, with the minimum spend, actually get traction, actually move the needle? And that's what I go for.
That's cool. And this makes sense to me that you're in the space and good at it, because it actually in some ways parallels your authorship story around how to leverage platforms. Is the initial one that comes to mind for me around, hey, you were an author and then learned how to flip that script to have the platform and the horizon and the marketplace work more to your advantage, and not have to work as hard for limited exposure and revenue. And then, that you flipped that, and you were talking about the balance between content and the product and the reader and the sponsor. And that essentially sounds like being really good at matchmaking. To me in some ways, which is what, in my opinion, what a good marketer does, is they learn how to find the right people and then pair them together. And so you make an interesting point around getting that one quick win, and early stage entrepreneurs or small business owners being budget strapped. And you said they don't necessarily do everything that they should do. And in my experience, one of the biggest pitfalls that early stage entrepreneurs can fall into is trying to do all the stuff that they should do. And then what it does is it dilutes their impact and it destroys their budget. And so talk a little bit about how would you advise small business owners, early stage entrepreneurs to think about where social media fits into all the stuff that, they're being charged with doing, and, kind of when it, and how much money in their trajectory, when should they be thinking about retaining someone like yourself?
Those are really good questions. There's a couple issues or vectors of this. One is money, and the other one is personnel and time and resources. You talked about, that's another scenario where you've got a business owner who, regardless of age, is like, I'm willing to, roll up my sleeves and get into this and figure it out. And I want to do it for my business. And that can be a good thing to a degree. It can also be dangerous if you're moving away from both your core competency and the focus on running your business. To go and chase these rabbits that you're not best educated. You don't have to do. It's going to be away from competencies where you need to focus, right? So that's an issue. But sometimes it does make sense to have, to some degree, the owner involved, and then also their underlings, the employees in the company, or fellow founders, whatever it is, doing their things that could help support an overall marketing campaign. Also, going back to something you talked about matchmaking, I like that analogy, and I also like the idea of, for me, it's always been to focus on how do you make everybody win. So as soon as we stop thinking about the other guy, everybody loses, in my opinion. At some point. Okay. So that includes business owners thinking that they're just automatically always serving their audience and not realizing that in fact, they may not be serving them as highly as they could. And to really appear as a benefactor, to really think about them from their shoes. What is their current problem? How can you help them solve a trusted advisor, vendor, whatever it is, and really thinking that when stretching yourself to do so, because it's not always easy. It doesn't always come naturally. And so there can even be hostility sometimes if somebody's feeling beaten up on price or by competitors that offering inferior services for maybe making more money doing it. Things like that can make you feel kind of hostile against the business environment. But there are always ways. I have found that there's always ways to create those kind of triple win scenarios for everybody involved. Or win-win or whatever it is, depending on how many parties are involved. So, again, so thinking from your prospects' shoes and solving their problems. Because when you do that, you automatically lionize yourself and make yourself the expert. You create trust, you create awareness, you put yourself in front of them visibly as the expert, as the company to provide, whatever it is. It doesn't really matter from pizza to coaching services, right? It doesn't matter. When you do that and you truly help them with whatever that problem is, I want true thin crust Italian pizza that's like New York style and I can't find it. Or, I need a business coach that's going to be able to take me to the next level in my business that I can afford and that, I can trust and really understands what they need to understand. It doesn't matter. There's always things that you can be putting in front of them through a funnel. And now we haven't talked about that. I just introduced the magic word, funnel.
The F word.
What the heck? Yeah, the F word. I like that. I'm going to use that. That's good. Yeah, the F word. The other F word, right? So funnels. People don't usually think about funnels. What is a funnel? A funnel is simply a system in your business, and I'll speak about it from a marketing standpoint. There's also sales funnels, and they're often intertwined. But from a marketing standpoint, a funnel is a systematic method to bring customers in, to use traffic to bring customers into a system, to a website, into email lists, into all the whatever the pieces are of this funnel and how it works. It's like an engine, right? And the gas that goes into the engine is the traffic that we bring in from places like SEO, from Google AdWords, from Facebook ads, from Pinterest, from doesn't matter where, right? Email marketing. We bring people in, we bring them into the funnel, and then we hopefully nurture them through the funnel. And hopefully there's automation in the funnel so that things are happening automatically. We're not kind of pushing this through each phase. There's while you sleep, things occurring. Emails are going out. They're watching videos. They're being sent offers. They're being given more content to establish your brand further. All these things are very doable and a part of most good funnels. Now, it gets a little more complicated because people want to talk about monolithic things like, let's talk about Facebook ads, right? Or let's talk about SEO. Okay, that's cool. but understanding where those sit in the pantheon of
Right.
marketing is more
Yep.
important, is that you should have it just like you would want to have one source of income if you can avoid it, right? It's good to not have one source of traffic. You want traffic coming in from Google organic if you can do it. Right. You should be working on that. You should maybe consider AdWords in some businesses. You can maybe should consider Facebook ads. You should be considering all the ways. You should definitely be doing email marketing, possibly Facebook Messenger marketing. Maybe we can talk about that in a little bit. But whatever it is, you got to bring people in from as many distributed sources as you can, and then nurture those people as automatically as possible to bring them to customer level where they spend money. Yep. Right. And that money doesn't have to be the big kahuna. It doesn't have to be the whale. It could just be what we call a tripwire offer. That sort of we want to separate buyers from non-buyers as quickly as possible in a marketing funnel. And it's fine to have thousands of people on your email list or signing up for things or whatever, but we really want to identify who's willing to part with money, pull their credit card out. Yep. And so even at a low level, that's a good thing to do, because those people can get a different focus in the funnel where it sort of splinters off, and those people get more aggressively marketed to because we've identified them as a spender. And these are, again, all things that a good marketing person can do and set up for you. This isn't, I don't want the interpretation of the business owner who might be watching this to go, oh my God, this sounds like overwhelming and everything.
Right.
It could be, it probably would be if you tried to do all of it. But if you have a good marketing partner, they could even build kind of like an entry level one of these. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be this hydra of, marketing. It could just be, like I said, about one quick win. Every time you do a successful campaign, even what we would call a monolithic campaign, let's just do a Facebook ad campaign, right?
Yep.
That's technically going to be a funnel if done right, because the Facebook ad's going to ask them to do something, right? It's going to maybe have them go to an offer to, take me up on this $25 off your first whatever massage or something like that. Yep. They're going to sign up. Hopefully you're going to capture their email. Well, that's part of a funnel. And then you're going to automatically send them the voucher. And then maybe you're going to forward them, once they do that, to your scheduling page to automatically schedule. That's a really smart idea, right?
Yep.
Intelligence, that's a funnel. You might just think of it, that's my Facebook ad campaign, but that's a mini funnel.
And tell me about, you named this broad thing of all these different things you can do, Pinterest and Instagram and LinkedIn, and there's Facebook ads and email marketing. But so those are probably like best practices within the industry. And then there's the scrappy sort of best practice for that bootstrap entrepreneur. And so in my general experience in this, I find that especially when it's a solopreneur that's also doing the sales and the service delivery of his or her primary offering, that they're best off kind of just picking one of these and learning it a little bit along the way versus trying to throw themselves into all of it. Would you agree, or would you advise otherwise?
Yeah, typically that's a good idea from both a logistic overwhelm standpoint as well as, again, a financial standpoint. That's usually, like, again, the one quick win. Let's get a little traction. Let's get something going. Let's identify. And usually, Jay, that's going to be, a lot of times that's going to be Facebook as of end of early 2018, just because everybody's on there. So it's really easy to find your audience. And I've heard businesses say things like, oh, my audience isn't on Facebook. BS, they're not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
are they human beings? Do they breathe air? They're on Facebook. You don't think they are. I've had people say rich people aren't on Facebook. My most successful client case is targeting super wealthy people on Facebook for a financial services company. They make millions and millions of dollars. Okay. It's just not true. So at all ends of the spectrum, with all psychographics and demographics, they're on Facebook. And the different thing on Facebook, though, the challenge on Facebook is how to find them in there. And that's a discussion I won't get deeply into because it's technical, but essentially that's the trick, right? That's the art and the science of Facebook marketing. As part of it is correctly targeting that audience and presenting them with an offer that's good. Whereas on Google, it's a different animal because you have expressed intent through search. For example, if I say buy best pizza Santa Rosa, I want to keep using my pizza again. I clearly have expressed intent to buy a pizza, and Google knows this, and they're going to show pizza restaurants. They get that, right? But another example would be best massage therapy business coach, something like that. Still, I'm looking for a coach. Like there's intent there. So when you show up for that, either in ads or wherever, on the Google front page, the first page of Google, then that you still know more something about them. That's why when you're doing AdWords, you don't want to compete on really generic keywords like business coach, because maybe I was looking for a business coaching program. Or maybe I was looking to become a coach, or whatever it is. So so it's that in that case, it's a different dynamic. It's about choosing the right keywords, bidding on the right keywords, not overbidding. There's all these things to consider.
Sure.
So they're different animals. They need to be treated differently, but they can each of these platforms, and I'm not excluding others like LinkedIn or Pinterest or things like
Right.
that. They contain different segments of audiences. Some are huge, some are targeted, what have you. It's finding those people through the right targeting and the right offer, letting them self-select, and then getting them into your funnel. Converting them over so that you now own them, right? Because you don't own them until you get their email address or their phone number, or they purchase from you or something. They get into your systems. So we want to get them over and get them to be customers.
And tell me about, I'm Joe, entrepreneur. Where in that ascent of getting things up and running in business, where should earlier stage entrepreneurs begin to think about retaining someone like yourself? And how should they be thinking about budgeting them?
Yeah. So this is, I can't speak for everyone, but I will tell you that the vast majority of the time, and I'm not saying this to be self-serving. This is my sincere experience from being a marketer for 20 years now, is that most small businesses, not all, but the vast majority, fail when they try to do things like SEO, Google AdWords, or Facebook on their own. Okay, and I've been proven wrong on that very, very few times in 20 years. Now, Google and Facebook, it's a mandate for them to make it look approachable. Like anybody can do it.
Right.
Guess what? That's how they make money, and they make money on you because you try and you fail and you aren't too happy, but you hear other people who are doing it and they're making money, and then eventually you figure out you need a professional. Now, if you're the edge case and you're the one out of 100 that can do it on your own, God bless you. I wish you the best. But most people are not going to be in that category for various reasons. It's not intelligence, it's experience and money and time and all those other things. So for most entrepreneurs, I think that you got to be ready to spend at least $1,000 a month on your marketing, including ad spend, because you're going to have to pay money. It's not just paying a person like myself or any other marketing person out there. It's about what you spend with them. And then you also have to have an ad spend. You have to buy impressions on an ad network in most cases, right? You're going to have to buy visibility, that virtual billboard space to shove your message in front of people. Essentially, you're going to have to pay for that. Pay a little more during the holidays too, by the way, as a side note. It's close to the holidays as we're in the middle of the holiday season. So, there's a slight premium that happens then, but regardless of the time of year, you're going to pay money for that. And so you have to budget for both.
Yep.
You also have to budget some one-time costs to set up things like, and this is variable, right? How good's your website right now? How good's your offer? That funnel we were talking about, do you already have a good lead magnet or offer developed? To build, if you're building out a funnel, you have to invest in that, which is luckily a one-time investment.
Yep.
It could change over time, but the engine tends to not change that much once you build it.
Yeah.
So I would say in raw numbers, for a Google driven campaign, you should be probably looking at, to be fair, if it's an SEO campaign, you could probably be more like $600-700 a month. If it's a Google AdWords driven campaign, probably $1,000.
Yeah.
1,500 to 2,000. Okay, here's why. I'm probably more like 1,500 to 1,700. Here's why. For whatever reason, $500 a month on Google is where you're going to expect to move the needle and see things happening. And I know this from having managed many, many dozens, probably hundreds at this point, of Google AdWords campaigns. Just good things don't happen with a spend that's less than that per day, right? Whatever that is. So it's, it's going to be about like $15 a day. Okay. You're just not going to see good things happen. Except in very few rare circumstances. So on Facebook, that magic number tends to happen around $25-30 a day. We have seen this magic number occur time and time again through managing campaigns and attempting to do it at lower levels. And then something happens. And we've even had Facebook ad reps, not on record, confirm that, there's something to that. That $25 book, which is less than a month. I like to just use that number. So typically, let's just say $750, $800 a month as a spend on Facebook is a good place to be. So to answer your question, to work with somebody like myself, that's probably where they're going to need to be with those types of campaigns. Total spend plus whatever their setup stuff is going to be. That's totally variable. Now, it's not to say that there are people out there that say $99 a month, we do Facebook, Google advertising for you. Right. I have worked with tons of those companies or clients of those companies that are just like, they waste their time for a year or two. They feel like they've checked the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Google AdWords, I got it. It's done. It's handled. And then a year or two, how long do you want to wait in mediocrity before you actually do something and make it happen? So it's a little bit of a no man's land in between. There's these companies that just basically, they're going to count on you not knowing anything. They're not going to tell you anything honestly. They're just going to take you at a low price. And that exists in every industry. My industry is no different. But it's kind of like the auto industry in that you have a lot of lack of understanding of what's being done. That really strongly affects the consumer or the business that's trying to do it. They're victimized a lot by it.
Yeah. So question on that front. So everything you're saying makes a ton of sense. And I like what you're saying about being strategic and holistic. And instead of saying, hey, this is a check the box thing, if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds like you're saying or advising entrepreneurs to budget for this and take a holistic marketing approach. And that this is just one piece of that larger structure. And that, so A, approach this on a macro level. B, there's I hear what you're saying about, hey, listen, like just get this going, spend $1,000. And then we all know how entrepreneurs usually work, which is they're operating like right around bankruptcy every month.
Yeah.
And saying, hey, these are the types of things I'll spend money on, when I'm in the black. And so, to those folks, what would your advice be on how they should be thinking about it?
Well, here's the good news about these. I'm going to answer that in a platform specific way.
Sure.
Because paid traffic, which is Google AdWords, Facebook, anywhere where you're buying ads, okay, that's paid traffic sources online. If we're talking about online stuff. Okay. Those have the advantage. They tend to be more expensive as campaigns than things like maybe SEO, but they're shorter term plays. And you can also put a toe in the water with them and then shut it down. So for example, like we have a minimum of a 12-month campaign on SEO, minimum initial, because it takes that long to get results. It's going to take a long time to get results. It's a long-term play. Okay. So on paid campaigns, you can go in and you can stop if you don't, something's not right. You can put a toe in the water essentially. So you can also start it in a week. I mean, you could pretty much have a campaign up and going in a week. Yeah. Maybe 2 at the most. And so you can get it out there, test your market, test your offer, see what's happening, and then steer the ship from there and make decisions. So you can start it up fast. You're not typically committed to any kinds of long-term campaigns. And then you can shut it down and then reboot it or whatever. If you're thinking about doing the SEO organic thing, just to go back to that, since I mentioned it originally, you should get going on that as soon as possible. And you should plan on it not doing anything for you for 9 to 12 months. Because of the way Google is these days. They're like the bouncer at the bar with the red velvet rope who says you can't get in right now and there's nobody in the club. That's Google. They're like, there's nobody in the club, but there's no reason they shouldn't be letting you in onto the first page, but they're not going to because it's what they do. Because, wait a minute. No, why do they do that again? Oh yeah, they want you to buy AdWords. Yeah. Because that's called fiduciary responsibility of stockholders and all that stuff, profit, bottom line, right? That's what they want. So anyway, that's just something to be aware of. So if you like picture your name in lights in the top of Google organically, and that's a hardcore part of your plan that you are committed to, start yesterday, as soon as possible, because you're going to be waiting no matter what.
And so that's a great segue towards overcoming the doubt that can you, Mr. Marketer, Mrs. Facebook person, et cetera, actually deliver. So let's pretend I am that threadbare entrepreneur. And I'm going to pony up and, pull these funds from somewhere. It's a massive risk for me. It's probably taking up a large percentage of my monthly financial bandwidth. Yeah. And like you were naming like some of the 99 types, dollar per month types earlier. I think the biggest fear is going to be, well, shit, what if I plop that money down and this person just says, hey, that's how it goes sometimes, and I can't promise results, and on and on and on. And I guess where I'm going with this is, how do you advise people on how to interview and hire folks like yourself so that when they do make that deep financial commitment, they're getting what's being delivered on and not just the smoke and mirrors of, well, hey, this is digital marketing error.
Yeah, that's a legitimate concern. And so that is a really important process. It's just like, it would be like hiring a key employee in your company. You've got to vet them. You've got to look at their relevant experience and their past experience and interview their customers. and talk to those customers, ask for referrals, and then call the referrals and ask in depth about the experience, the good. Tell me the best thing that's happened. Tell me the worst thing that's happened. How did they overcome it? Like drill down and ask really intelligent questions about the experience of other people as close to your business as possible. However, that said, don't expect to find a customer that's necessarily identical to you. I always get that. Like, that's just not realistic in most cases,
Yep.
This is a dynamic person, understand the tools being used, and is willing to take the time to learn your business. That to me is a top criteria. Are these guys willing to slow down and hear me and understand me and really get to know my brand? Before the interview, did they look at your website? Did they go through your funnel if it already exists? Are they asking good questions? Do you feel like that they have a real stake in it? And that they're really looking at it from the outside and digging in? Because if they don't, they have no chance of properly representing you online. Your marketing person, your online marketing person, whether it's internal or external, is essentially your representative in that world, and they are portraying you in the online world.
Yep.
And that means that they have to understand exactly who your customer avatar is. They have to understand exactly how your product's positioned. So those are the questions they should be asking is, tell me about your competitors. Tell me about your history. Tell me about your pocket vision. Like, where do you want this business to go? Even maybe some things that you might consider personal, like those are questions that they should be asking about. Not personal, like, your social security number or something, but more like, where do you want this business to go? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Because as a marketer, it's not just, help me shop my wares. I mean, it could be, I guess, if somebody wants to limit it to that. But if it's a small business, it tends to be more close to the vest, and they tend to be a more trusted partner. And there's somebody that should be also helping you as that small business entrepreneur. This is such a big part of your life. It's helping you in your business life move along, which really affects your whole life. It affects your family life and everything. So it's, I think it's important to have somebody that is taking the time to ask those questions and really cares, because they're out there. They do exist. If they're just treating you like, oh, I've already done this before and I already know, that might make you feel comfortable at first. Like, oh, you get it. Right. But if you're feeling dismissed, like you didn't really get a chance to actually express what's unique about your business, that's a real issue. And you should look at that.
Yeah. That's great. And what I really hear you saying in some of this, and from my experience, both personally and with clients, we should have flares going off right now as the warning to all of those do-it-yourselfers out there, or people that are like, hey, I'm smart, I've got this, that think, hey, I'm going to piecemeal the website to someone over here. I'm going to piecemeal this. And they save 10% at each step of the way, but it's like hiring 10 different people to build your house. And then you put it all together and you realize, hey, I've got to go back, tear the entire thing down. So there's that expense. There's all the opportunity costs of lost revenue that you left on the table during that period, plus the frustration, plus the bandwidth. And that, for most entrepreneurs, running out of money is the one thing that sinks them. And so if they view marketing and hiring someone that's an expert in marketing, such as yourself, as an additional expense and not an investment in the cost of doing business, they're doing themselves a big disservice. And that if they're viewing this as the arm that brings them more leads and more sales and higher profitability so that they can focus on their area of expertise, is kind of how to be thinking about you. Is that the flavor of it?
Yeah, very much the flavor of it, Jay. That was really well stated, and they really need to be spending in many cases like 10% of their expected, or their basically their gross annual revenue as a company on marketing. That's not an unrealistic figure. Yeah. And some companies who are like software companies spend way more than that, especially for aggressive growth. It depends, but if you're spending 2% on your marketing, you're underfunding your marketing, and you're not going to go anywhere. But but that was really, really well stated.
What are some closing thoughts from you? Is there a question that you want to answer that I haven't asked yet? Are there any consistent mistakes that you see folks making as they get to your doorstep, things of that nature?
Yeah, I think you just expressed one of the biggest ones, is that whole redo thing is, stepping. You're basically, to me, you're kind of stepping over dollars to get to pennies kind of thing. And it's just, everybody wants a good deal. I like good deals too. I like to save money, but when you're doing it to, and I realize people don't understand this when they shoot themselves in the foot. They're not trying to shoot themselves in the foot, but they're spending money, and they are building a balkanized marketing setup, which is what you described, where everything's all over the place and nothing works together. And it's not intelligently designed from a top-down perspective to work together. It's critical. that everything works together and that everyone works together. And it
Yeah.
doesn't mean you have to only work with one person, but you have to be really sure that all the pieces, human and otherwise, are going to be interchangeable and compatible. And it's all going to function. So that's important, because the worst thing is you spend money twice. And I've had this happen.
Totally.
Okay, 6 times in the last year. I've had customers come to me and they've got such a broken, half-assed marketing setup that I save what I can, by the way. I'm not one of these, I am an artiste and I will not work with that. I don't do that. But I mean, if it's not going to work, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
And I see companies on almost a monthly basis that just have to they have to take their medicine and jettison what they have already invested money in that was already hard, and they have to spend it twice. It happens all the time. And that's really real. So, you just want to be really careful not to be overly budget conscious to the point of shooting yourself in the foot.
Yeah. Yeah. And a point that you made earlier that I want to bring back to this is that there's such a siren song or a head fake around anything social media related, because like you said, like everyone's on it. It's not all that hard to create a Facebook page, and I can hop on YouTube and figure out how to make a funnel and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But like you said as well, so let's pretend I'm that person that maybe hiring, you don't necessarily need to hire one person that can do it all. Maybe you're going to piecemeal a few of it, but you still need to know how to GC and manage all those moving parts. And earlier you talked about how quickly this industry moves. And so unless you have the time to be investing the research and the know-how and to staying on the leading edge of that curve, there's no way that you can intelligently manage all of that.
Yeah, that's right. And I feel like it would be nice to leave the audience too, for people that are saying, well, that all sounds great, but I'm not there yet. What could I be doing, if anything, now with my own 2 hands to just build some resources that will then help me, even if I give them to somebody else later? What could I be doing? So I'm going to give a few of those if I can.
Love it.
Okay. So what would I be doing if I was a business owner who couldn't afford to hire a marketer yet, and local business, small business, whatever it is? I would identify the most frequently asked questions that my audience asks and wants to know, the ones that really keep them up at night, the ones that are really plaguing them. I'd identify their biggest pain points. And I'd turn those into questions, and I would then answer those questions in some form on videos, if possible. It could be animated explainer videos. It could be you talking head, videos like this, whatever it is. I would be answering those questions in both written and video form and building a library of that content. If you're somebody who's personable, likes being on camera, or has somebody in your organization who could do that well, I would do that. Absolutely, because that's something that'd be a great marketing resource to be able to use in a video marketing campaign later and on the website. It's like against you knife, it slices, it dices, it does everything.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
You will find a lot of mileage out of that. Yeah. So that would be one thing. The other one is recording customer testimonials and videos. And I have, I'll hook it up for you, Jay, so you could share it maybe as part of the podcast notes, if you could do that.
Yeah.
It is a free guide that I just put together. It was kind of like I curated it from other places of how to build the perfect video testimonial. Okay? Because you don't just want to turn on the camera and ask random questions of people and things like that. There's a way to do it right.
Yep.
But, get video testimonials and written. So video, and notice me, this is a repeating theme, right? Video and written. Now, sometimes you can just transcribe the video into a written. That's fine too.
Repurpose that content.
Right. So if you can only do one, do video, because you get both basically. And recording as many testimonials that speak specifically to your benefits and their pain and their story. So customer example, I'll do a quick example, is like, this was me, this is my business, this is who I am, this was my problem. Then I encountered so-and-so, the person watching their business.
Yep.
And then here's what happened. And now today, here's where I am. Then final wrap up, I would recommend them because this, that, and the other. Okay. If you're going to help them, and don't be back and forth. It's them in a soliloquy. It's a monologue. They go for it. Okay.
Yeah.
If you can do that, as many of those as you can get, that's going to blow people away. That's what we call social proof. And that's going to be able, again, we can throw that on Facebook and YouTube, and, we can throw it on the website, of course. We can throw it into a marketing funnel. Oh man, you just get, so that's a really strong resource that, by the way, is also evergreen. It will never go away.
Yep.
Those are things. If you haven't already claimed your Google listing, your Google My Business page, if you're a local business, you absolutely need to do that. And make sure all of the listings of your business online are consistent and the same. Name, address, phone number, always the same. And if you haven't already gone deep into that, maybe consider getting a call tracking number to be able to track the source of where calls come in, so you can attribute it to a marketing campaign, even if it means changing your phone number online to a different phone number than the one that's on your business card. That's okay.
Yep.
Do that, because then you can track what comes in online.
Data. Sure.
If you can't manage it, you can't. If you can't measure it, you can't manage it.
Yep.
Right. So that's a call tracking service, and they're very cheap. You can get, CallRail is one I recommend. There's a bunch of them out there. So that's a bunch of good ones. And then really identifying your customer avatar, really thinking about who is that person, looking in your database. If you already have one, your customer database, finding commonalities amongst different demographic and psychographics, where do they live? How much money do they make? What are their job titles? Things like that. That is going to be invaluable for you and or a marketer in the future to then target that audience. These are the questions that I ask people.
Yeah. That's huge.
And then having a really clearly defined, let's actually, the last thing I'm going to leave it, because I could go on all day about this, is the offer. All right. Yeah. Craft, if you don't have it, an amazing offer that blows people away. A mafia offer, a jaw-dropping offer, whatever you want to call it, JDO, right? It's something where people are, and it still makes sense for you to do it.
Yeah.
And it blows your competitors away. If you don't have that, you really have nothing. You're going into the online gunfight with a knife.
Yeah.
So have that and develop that. When you have those pieces, man, if you were working with me, and I imagine just about anybody that's, similar to me, we're going to have a field day with that, and you're going to save yourself money.
Right.
And by the way, in the meantime, you could probably figure out a way to use that on your own to some degree to get some.
Totally.
Yeah. So,
and especially, I think the benefit of what you just described, going through that process, tease someone such as yourself up to knock it out of the park for them, but it also gives them such good insights into how their business is, and hey, do I really know my avatar or not? And them knowing everything that you just described will also really increase their conversion conversations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And they're gonna learn about a lot of valuable information about their business along the way in that exercise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so I want to thank you a ton for your time today, but also, you're such a resource and such an expert. For folks that are interested in potentially working with you, how do they find you?
Yeah. Well, my website's socialmedianinjas with an S at the end.com. And if you want to talk, I offer a free 15-minute consultation, but for your audience, if they just mention it I'll do up to an hour, and there's no obligation, and I'm happy to just be on business and meeting people. And I love talking to small business owners. It's why I get up every day to do this business. I love it. And I'd love to hear about what you're doing and help in any way I can, whether or not it means we end up working together. I'd love to just to offer that to your audience, and we could talk for up to an hour on a consult.
Awesome. Sean, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate your time today.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite to be here, Jay. It was a pleasure.
For sure. Thanks for everything you share with us. We'll be in touch, buddy.
Okay.
Later.